The storm bullied the sky all day, blowing sleet sideways across the marsh paths of lower Velen. By dusk clouds sat like bruises over Mudholt, a scatter of hovels stitched to the earth. A rider came through the cattails, cloak salted white, horse blowing mist. The medallion at his throat, a snarling cat's head, ticked against his jerkin with each step. Cade had no love for hamlets, but coin was coin, and the war had starved every other trade. At Mudholt's notice board the parchment was slick under his glove. Missing since midsummer, 2 children, then the miller's boy and priest Yerek's niece. Footprints toward the marsh. Howls at night. The alderman offer 3 crowns and a cured ham. He almost laughed. 3 crowns bought a whetstone. He folded the parchment and pushed into the tavern, ducking under a lintel furred with smoke. Mudholt had emptied its courage into the room already. Men hunched at sour ale, women twisting aprons. The hearth was a cave of half-hearted fire. "You the Witcher?" asked the alderman, a stubby man with frost in his beard. His eyes were lidless with sleeplessness. "Name's Bronick. You'll take it." "I'll listen," Cade said, "and I'll need more coin." Bronick glanced at the room, then at a wooden box guarded by a saint crudely whittled. "We're stripped," he said. "Redanians took the pigs. Nilfgaard took the men. Night takes the rest." "The missing," Cade said. "Tell it straight." "They go after the bells," Bronick said. "We hear a bell and we bolt our doors. But nets are found torn, reeds flattened, and the mud shows little feet walking toward the reeds. Walking like they want to. That's not how they go when something drags them," Cade said. "Aye," Bronick whispered. "Priest says it's penance. The marsh angel calls and the guilty follow." Cade rolled his shoulders. "You have a priest. He can spare coins." Priest Yerek rose like a reed from shadow, thin, with birdy eyes. He traced the sun. "I have prayers," he said, "and I'll give you those free." "Save them," Cade said. He scratched a line on the table with a knife point. "Things that ring bells. Noonwraiths don't. Nightwraiths don't. Water hags rattle bones, not bronze. Drowners don't think. Less hens mark trees, they don't toll. Bells mean hands." Bronick swallowed. "You imply a man." "I imply a hand," Cade said. "Maybe a man's. Maybe something that's learned us." He slept in the stable, in old hay, and woke to a wind like gritted teeth. The marsh spread black as an unblinking eye. He drank swallow, chewed salvia, rubbed goose fat into his gloves. The medallion buzzed faintly, like a fly under a bowl. Something nearby used magic, or mocked it. At the edge of the reeds lay a ribbon tied in a child's clumsy bough. Beneath it, small prints went from village to water, then vanished into muck. He paced, crouched, sniffed. The air held iron and tallow and the ghost of juniper. To the north, a ruined watchtower leaned like a snapped tooth. From it came a sound that was not the wind, an uncertain ping, then another. Bell metal. Cade's hand went to his sword, but he left silver sheathed and thumbed the leather over steel. He followed the sound along a track knotted with roots to the tower's broken belly. Cold licked his teeth as the tower breathed out rot, straw, iron dust, and cold air. Inside, the steps spiraled toward shadow. A rope hung from above, frayed, new knots pulled tight with small hands. He listened. The bell rang again, thin as a promise. The steps were slick. Cade went up with steel drawn and Ard coiled along his forearm. At the landing a cracked bell hung in a timber cradle, rope knotted in increments a child might trust. It trembled as if something below had just tugged. He cut the rope. The bell gave a thin cry. Far out, wood scraped stone in answer. Downstairs, the tower belly smelled of tallow. Candles lay on a crate beside a crude wooden mask with holes for eyes. A stool faced the doorway. Along the sill a chalk line waited to record who crossed. The floor had been smoothed with a board to show prints. Many were small. The tracks came and went like tiddlines. Here a heel dug in. There a toe dragged. Children had stood, paced, then stepped out at the pull of the bell. He found a scrap of frock, a blue glass bead, goat hairs, and a little tin soldier with a dented face. "Drowners don't collect toys," he said. On a shelf sat jars of fat and a tin cup half full of black grains that smelled of juniper and medicine. He tasted a dab, spat, and felt his tongue go numb. "Poppy," he said. "Raw." The slit window watched a cut in the reeds. Cade held his medallion to the timber. It vibrated harder there. Oil had been rubbed into the wood, an oil with dimeritium filings, enough to sour signs and fake sorcery. "Hands," he said, heavier now. Footsteps disturbed the marsh. One set, careful. He stood to the hinge side of the door and waited. A slim shadow entered. A knife flashed in a thin hand, edge green with a smear that made his tongue ache even from here. Cade pinched the wrist. The knife fell. He turned the small body and set the attacker on the stool. "Easy," he said. "You ring that bell?" A freckled girl glared. A split lip had healed badly. The scar tugged when she scowled. "You cut my rope," she said, more angry than afraid. "You'll spoil it." "Spoil what?" "The path. They have to walk straight." "Who told you that?" "Priest says the marsh angel speaks through saints' bells and shows us where the sinners go. We make the path, and the marsh angel takes them." "The priest," Cade said. "Yerek." She flinched toward the window. "Hush. If he hears, I'll be punished. You'll be cleaned. Like a fish." "Children disappear," Cade said. "You don't mind." "They were cruel," she said. "To me. To the goat. They called me bastard's brat. Priest says penance weighs different." "What's your name?" "Ren." "Ren," he said. "Did Yerek take them?" "He said the marsh angel took what was owed." He kept the candles lit so the path would be seen. "Where does the path end?" She pointed at the cut in the reeds, where the ground goes hollow and the black water looks back. "Show me," Cade said. They moved along a plank path hidden under scum. Wren knew each wobble and gap. Twice she stopped and held up a hand, listening. Once she stooped and lifted a frog jar from a niche and shook out a candle stub. "For the saints," she muttered, and did not cross herself. The reeds hissed. Somewhere a heron croaked like an old hinge. In the mud, Cade saw fresh drag marks alongside small steps, and a cart's rut that died at water. She rose, took up the knife, and shoved it into her belt like she had paid for it. Outside, the marsh breathed like something asleep and dreaming badly. The cut in the reeds opened on a pool rimmed in peat banks. The surface was so dark it held the sky without rippling. Wren kept to hummocks that trembled. On the far side, half sunk in the bank, stood a frame of poles hung with small bells made from thimbles and spoon bowls. Child-height strings threaded them in lines toward the water. "They walked here," Wren said. "We followed with candles so the angel would see." Cade crouched. The medallion lay quiet. The dimeritium oil was behind him. He saw small wobbles and a larger heel braced while hands adjusted a string. He sifted mud and found a pike scale, a wedge of tallow, and a splinter shaved from a bell's clapper. The wedge smelled faintly of juniper, the same mixture as the tower. "Wren," he said, "when did Yerek first preach bells?" "When soldiers came," she said. "When pigs left." He said order must come from the marsh, or it would take its due. Who else helps him? She bit her lip. Mothers who lost things. Men who want to look clean. Thunder rolled once. Lightning stitched the cloud bank, showing every reed like a row of spears in the dark. From the peat's shadow rose stakes that had once been a fish-drying rack. Now cages hung there, a miller's sieve wired shut, a bird crate, a cut-down pig pen. They hovered above black water, rocked by storm breath. Something knocked inside one. Cade stepped onto the rack's beam. The wood flexed. Below, reflection slid, then a true face. A boy pressed against slats, eyes wide, lips blue. "Hold fast," Cade said. He cut the wire and drew the boy out onto the beam. The lad shivered and clutched the tin soldier Cade returned. It fit his palm like a secret. The boy sobbed once, then bit it short. "How many?" Cade asked. "3," Wren said. "Now 2. Now maybe none." A proper bell rang behind them, rolling rings across the pool. Cade spun and saw Priest Yerek on the bank, robes dark with wet, hand on a rope that led to a bell he had hidden beneath a tarp of reeds. With him stood several villagers, blank faces. Bronick was among them, and he looked away. "Cade of the Cat," Yerek called. "Stand aside." "The angel is made of spoons," Cade said. "Step away from the rope." So natural a killer of monsters doubts the higher order. You think men made this path? The marsh chose them. I but toll. Cade tasted metal, oil and poppy, chalk and strings. You trained the village to hear you in their sleep, then laundered a drowning as penance. "Penance needs a hand," Yerek said. "Sometimes mine." Bronick flinched. "Priest." "Hush, Bronick. The cat will leap. Then it will drown. This is a sacrament." Yerek hauled the rope. The bell caroled. From the reeds, something pale uncoiled, antlers of root and bone. It stepped with the careful, ungentle stride of a thing that knew the marsh and hated visitors. Villagers cried out. Wren made a thin sound. The shape paused at the rack and lifted a branch hand. The medallion thrummed. Cade's silver stayed put. He drew steel and struck hard at the water. The blast rolled the pool, slewed the rack, and threw Yerek back. Rain hammered down. Runnels betrayed carved alder and deer rib under rags. A man inside a suit of fear. Cade slashed the rack's lashings and kicked the cages shoreward with the flat of his blade. Villagers wavered. Yerek reeled up, lips peeled from his teeth, eyes calm with zeal. The antlered suit took a step, dripping. Beneath the rags a man panted. Between slats Cade glimpsed a cheek smeared with ash. "Off," Cade snapped, and sent Igni crawling along the beam. Fire licked the wet rags, hissed, and died. Heat was enough. The man inside flinched away and stumbled onto a hummock. The suit snagged, ripped, and came apart like a lie. It was Bronick. The alderman stood bareheaded, ribs pumping, hair plastered. His eyes begged in 2 directions at once, toward Yerek for instruction, toward Cade for pardon. "I knew it," Wren said. "He wore the roots." "Men need faces for fear," Yerek said. He turned to the villagers. "Do not let the Witcher unmake order." The marsh answered. The guilty came. Nights grew quiet. Cade lifted his free hand and sent Axii like a quiet thought. It did not break Yerek, but slowed the men with him. Cudgels lowered. Eyes found the cages. Quiet nights, Cade said, because the loudest were drowned. Wind shoved a wave across the pool. The boy on the beam made a small sound. Cade cut the last wire and shoved him toward Wren. She hauled him with old strength. "Bronick," Cade said. "Say it." The alderman flexed his hands. "Priest said the marsh would forgive what I could not. My Yannick stole, I beat him, he ran, bells rang. After, folk left me be. He said it worked." Wren kept her eyes on the water. "Priest let me stand on the sill if I learned the ropes," she said. "Said the marsh would take only those who had it coming." Cade watched Yerek. He looked like men who never believe themselves wrong. Oil with filings to fool my medallion, poppy to muddle, bells to train, a suit to frighten, a system. "I had a congregation," Yerek said, "a place dying. I gave order." "You gave murder with clean hands," Cade said. "That word is for courts," Yerek said. "Here there is mud and loss. You know this." He knew the price of letting it eat the bones hollow. He sheathed steel, then moved fast. The throw took Yerek high in the shoulder. Not killing. The rope twitched. Cade snapped it, then stamped the bell from its cradle. It rolled, booming, into the water and sank. "Enough," Cade said. "Take him. Make him answer breathing." No one moved. Then Bronick touched Yerek's sleeve the way you touch cooling iron. Others followed. Zeal left Yerek's eyes, replaced by something human and late. They bound him with eel twine and took him toward Mudholt. Rain gentled. The pool went still. Cade stood with Wren and the boy while the bells on the frame clicked idly. "Will they hang him?" Wren asked. "Maybe," Cade said. "Maybe muck and prayer. Whatever comes, it's theirs. And me. You'll choose whether to ring when told, or not." Somewhere east, a second bell tolled once. Wren looked at Cade. His medallion stirred, faint as breath. The second bell could have been a buoy on a skiff, a boulder struck by wind, or a bell hidden in another tower where a girl waited to be brave. The marsh gave no answers, only the black water looking back. They walked away without looking to see if anything followed.